Playbook by CEO East Africa Magazine in association with FCCA Uganda and Deloitte.
All right. Hello there. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mohereza Chamtetera Cham, the host of the CFO Playbook, a property of the CEO East Africa Magazine, in partnership with FCCA Uganda and Deloitte Uganda, who have graciously supported us to bring this show to our audiences. The show really looks at the journey to financial leadership, and in the hope that we can inspire present and future leaders. And we try to dig into the minds of the CFOs. Of course, they're the people at the helm of this show. And Daniel, I implore you to not put on a shield on your mind, so we can be able to dig deep further inside it and pick all the knowledge that you have for the benefit of our audiences. So for starters, let's start by you telling us about yourself, who you are, especially those things that you think are important and you've been hiding away from us, but could be very useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much for inviting me here. I'm Daniel Businge. I'm currently a Director of Finance and Operations at MildMay Uganda Group. It's a group of companies, 4 companies in one, and I'm at the group level. I have a track record, a strong track record of over 17 years in finance and strategy, and I've strongly supported in building systems for the different sectors. I have worked for the finance sector, I've been in the telecom sector, I have been in the health sector, and currently I'm actually in the NGO, of course, looking at different dimensions there. Yeah, so, and I've also worked for the transport sector, the airline business. So there's a strong footprint that I've put across as the finance professions they're in. Yeah, so basically that is a short summary of what I am, and I am really glad for being invited today. So it is a great honor to be here to really share this experience, and thank you.
Glad to have you here, and I'm good enough. You have a wide range of experience from across different sectors. I hope we can be able to pick up on that knowledge and feast on it, as well as our audiences. Now, just wondering, we talked about digging into the minds of CFOs. If your mind were like a cup, what is that one thing on the top that it could be something that is exciting you, that is getting you concerned, or that's worrying you, especially about, it could be about the finance profession, but also it could be about the economy. What is that one thing that has been bothering you of late?
Well, what has been really bothering me, and what I really try my best to work on, is on the financial integrity. And that is really what drove me to the space of finance, to create this trust and confidence within the financial system. When you see those scandals happening, you see corruption, you see fraud, you see cyber crimes, and you really want to, put a strong pillar and build a financial system that can be trusted, that can be trusted by the different stakeholders. Here we have the customers, the investors, people put in a lot of their resources, and you have to make as much as you can in terms of accountability to the public, to the customers, to everybody. And so that is something that I felt is critical and important to build on that value system in the financial space across the entire value chain. So I thought that is one of the critical areas that is important. Yeah.
And just out of curiosity, you've been in different sectors over time, and of course, good enough you are in finance, and finance has a good helicopter view of what happens in the organization. Do you see, when it comes to some of the challenges of the sector, things like integrity, of course, you have things like cyber, basically the financial crimes especially. Do you see the landscape improving? Are we getting better? And then have you, in terms of the different sectors, have you noticed specific differences in the different sectors you worked, or it is since we're the same Uganda, there seems to be no notable differences across sectors?
I think the improvement is there, but it is not at the rate at which I thought it would be. And really I appreciate the regulatory bodies like FCCA, ICPU, and other regulatory bodies that try to, be like a watchdog on financial professionals. And so it becomes very challenging, especially for certified financial professionals who are under the regulations of FCCA and ICPU and others to enter into that malpractice, though it is happening. And when you look at the cases that are happening, majorly are for people who have not yet gained that professional experience. And so the improvement is not at a pace which I really want it to be. It calls again for all of us in the CFO space, in the regulatory bodies to push forward and have that trust in the public, because again these days you look at so many scandals in the papers and you wonder what is happening. And I think it calls for a value system that needs to be nurtured right from these young professionals who are starting at the school level, university level, and until they come into the field space. It's something that needs to start from deep down there. And so I think we have a role, and I thank the profession for even bringing this one up, because I'm sure so many can learn from us who have navigated through the terrains of over a long period of time, and we've seen so many things happen. So I think it's something that is good, and we are taking a positive trend, and it can actually be improved much further.
Okay.
Yeah.
I recently read a report by one of the audit firms whose name I have forgotten, but I don't want to mention it for obvious reasons. but one key thing I picked out is that most of these financial crimes, a good percentage of them is being the highest level was being done by insiders. The next level was insiders with external but with internal help. But then also, most importantly, about 66% of the financial crimes are being supported at the higher level, a higher level of management. And related to that, only about 18% of those crimes were being reported to the authorities. And that there's a connection, because if most of the top dogs are the ones being involved in the crime, then probably that's why the reason they're not being reported. Knowing what you know and sitting where you're sitting, if you were in charge of stamping out these crimes within the profession, what are some of the things that you think you yourself ought to be getting done, or that you do to make sure that you stamp out these vices, or at least you reduce them to significant levels?
I think, like you said, it's a saying that the fish starts rotting from the top. I think one of the key things that we need to do in our corporate governance, the due diligence, especially for the different entities, organizations, having the right people. And of course, it's not an easy thing. Having the right people on board at governance level, at the senior management level, so that vetting process of the system in our human resource of getting the right candidates on board is very, very, very important, because unless the corporate governance is worked on, it becomes very challenging for the financial systems at the middle level and the levels down to become good. So that control environment can only be managed by getting the right minds. And it is possible. We've seen it work out at MildMay, for example. When you look at our corporate structures, we are very careful on who comes on board, right from the board chair, the vice chair, and other committee members. There are certain value systems that we are considering, and that helps a lot. That helps a lot, and also it creates a kind of atmosphere on the kind of staff that we recruit right up to the down level. And so once that is done very well, it becomes very easy to manage. Yeah, to manage this issue that this, you can call it a pandemic. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. Away from the pandemic, let's first park the pandemic on the side. Maybe for people out there who may not know, can you tell us a little bit about MildMay? What do you guys do? What services do you offer? And who are your target stakeholders?
Thank you so much. MildMay, like I said, we do 4 things. Number one, we do programming. We do programming. We do programming at community level using different models, family-centered models. We also partner with government because it's really in health. That is our specialty. So we partner with government to improve and strengthen the health systems. We've worked at district level, at community level, at facility level. So that is one of the things that we do. Then secondly, we do training. Our goal is to really empower, create a capacity, to bridge that capacity gap in human resource in health. So still it is a partnership with the Ministry of Health. We train, we have nurses, we have clinical officers, we have laboratory technicians, and overall applied science. Then we also have a general hospital, quality health care. Basically, when you come and enter the gates of MildMay, you should be able to be treated. You know, they used to have earlier people thinking that MildMay is all about HIV.
Actually, that's what I thought.
HIV epidemic control. Yes, we did so much, and we are still contributing much on that. But it's a general hospital. It's a general hospital. Whatever kind of disease that you have, you can actually come and be treated at MildMay. Then we also have a research center. We believe in whatever interventions that we do, we want evidence-based, scientific evidence-based for our research. So we do all those 4 things through 4 entities. The programming aspect is within the NGO. Then the training is MildMay Institute of Health Sciences. Then the research is MildMay Research Center. And the quality health care is in the MildMay Hospital. And the reason why we did all that is really to change this narrative that NGOs can actually not survive without external funding. That one we are saying no, that irrespective of the challenges that we face, the NGOs can actually set up enterprises, social enterprises that can sustain their long-term objectives and create a much bigger impact in the community.
Okay. Actually, speaking of, being innovative and trying to go beyond the normal, as a finance person, you are traditionally supposed to be this guy who sticks to one. And if it's one, it's one, and it's two, it's two. I would want to pick your mind in terms of how do you become innovative and creative, and also encouraging your teams to be innovative and creative in an environment that is traditionally supposed to be risk averse. And so how do you merge that kind of the nature of the profession? For us, marketing and communications, and we're encouraged to be wild. Of course, always you get wild with your ideas, and then when you go to finance, they're like, "Hey, boss, slow down. You can't afford this. This is above your pay grade." I just want to understand, how do you guys approach innovation and creativity while balancing risk?
Well, what becomes critical and important for the finance professionals at the moment is to have that commercial mindset. To have the commercial mindset, really understand the business. Because if you fail to understand the business, you'll be behind the desk. So our creativity is linked to the strategic direction of the business. For example, at MildMay, when you look at our vision, it's really empowering communities for sustainable health. So whatever our finance professions, we need to revolve around that. We need to look into that and look at how do we build and create sustainability to achieve the strategic direction of empowering communities for sustainable health. And so what do? You have to create a robust financial systems that, bring operational efficiencies, cutting costs for sustainability. You have to build quality management systems. MildMay, we are an organization that believes in systems, and we are a certified organization in our quality management systems. So that standardization creates an environment that helps us to prosper. And when you have standards, risk is mitigated. In my career, I faced challenges whereby when we've not standardized certain things, there are loopholes which people end up taking advantage of, and they have led into serious challenges in the fraud and so many things that happen. So that standardization becomes very, very important. But also, what we've done strongly is to leverage on technology in an innovation space. How do we, because we are looking at the bottom line, we are looking at the return on investment. How do we leverage on technology? So we have invested much in the digitalization agenda as an organization. And every single day we have tracking systems on the return. How much are we making? How much efficiencies are we creating? And when you build up all that story, you find yourself having much in terms of achieving in the innovation space that we want to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. I know you did tell us a little bit about your professional background, and I know most likely you told us the above the line things and some of the good things, but maybe we want to know a little bit more about you, your background, how you found the career, or did the career find you, and how you ended up where you are, and in your view, when you're looking back, what do you think are some of those things that you think helped you get where you are?
Well, thank you so much. Again, to my background, I think there's something I forgot to talk about. I am a family person. I have a beautiful twins, a boy and a girl, and that's what makes up my day as a family person. I'm married. Yes, so to be very honest, right from when I started, finance was not in my mind until senior 6. Until S6, I had not really gotten a clear track record on what I wanted to do. At one point, I thought of becoming a lawyer. Then at the other point, social worker. Then, but it became clear after my senior 6 that I should be a finance professional. Like I'd highlighted earlier, what really was the driving force is to improve that sector, and manage the aspects of financial integrity. So I wanted, given my background I thought I would bring in much more integrity and credibility in the financial systems, and that was a major motivating factor. But of course, for every young person, you look at money. You look at money, you're like, okay, I'm going to be maybe a banker, I'm going to touch a lot of money, I'm going to do this and that, learn investment aspects of money and transformational agendas in relation to money. So that was also a motivating factor. So yeah, basically that is the area that, but more importantly was about the integrity of the financial system. Yeah.
Okay. Have you been able to touch this money? Or it's still eluding you?
Money, money is very, very tempting. I've been able to touch money which belongs to me, and I've been able to touch good money. So, and that has helped me a lot. And I've also been able to be a very good steward of the money for which I've been entrusted in for the different entities. Yeah, looking at my background right from when I started as a credit controller in Eagle Air, it's airline, and I looked at how they generate revenues, and I learned so much in terms of cost control. Then I came in and joined Pride Microfinance as an internal auditor. It was really a thrilling environment to look at how regulations and compliance and contributions offering advisory on internal control practices. Then now I come into the telecommunications sector again as a credit control. I worked for Ecotel for some good years, and I learned so much and contributed so much in credit management. Then I come to BRAC as a country head of finance and accounts, and that's where the system building, every time I pass BRAC, because I did so much in the transformation journey from a tier 4 to now a tier 2, a credit, it's a bank now, but under tier 2. That foundational aspect, I think I was the first Ugandan to build up, to come in as a finance manager. Initially, since its origins are from Bangladesh, had so much of the foreign nationals. But when I came in, I entered that space and brought a lot of transformation of digitalizing the banking, the microfinance sector. We had over 150 branches, and also creating systems, financial management systems, strong financial management systems and enterprise risk management systems that now the bank is standing on. So whenever I pass and see BRAC Bank, I feel so proud. Then, of course, that's how I joined MildMay. And the first journey was I come in, and because I had that, I wanted to change that narrative of saying that NGOs should really depend 100%. Of course, it's good. We have partners. We've had very good and great partnerships with international agencies, CDC and others. But all these partners want sustainability. So when I came in 2016, one of the things that really I worked closely with the governance was to how do we set up commercial enterprises that will improve the sustainability of our work, of empowering communities, saving lives. And that's how the MildMay Institute of Health Sciences was birthed in 2017. And started with a very, 300 students, but now it's over 1,400 students, and it's a lot of growth in revenues. And that then we have the MildMay Hospital coming in and MildMay Research Center. So that journey really makes me proud to see that even when we got strong waves in this pandemic period, and that regulations of AHA, we did not close our gates. We did not close our gates because we had prepared a foundation that we are taking to a different level at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah. And speaking of you mentioned the pandemic, now the pandemic of COVID, not the other integrity pandemic. Do you see, and we've been discussing with different CFOs from different sectors, Do you see how badly impacted was the not-for-profit sector in Uganda by the pandemic? And do you see how well have you recovered from the pandemic 2-3 years later?
Well, I think it was, it created opportunities, but at the same time, of course, for certain NGOs that really had not prepared for it, struggled, they suffered, some of them closed doors. But for the NGOs that were prepared for the pandemic, that had systems across, that were innovative and especially in the digital space, they thrived. It became an opportunity for them, and they learned a lot in terms of digitalization, in terms of tapping into opportunities that came out after the pandemic, in terms of building sustainability spaces for their organizations. They realized, because at that point of time, there are some funders who really closed doors because they were also struggling in their countries. And so NGOs had to think about what other spaces of revenue generation. And some of them actually realized that within Uganda itself, you can actually mobilize resources. You can actually build strong systems that allow to get resources that may not be that much, but they are sustainable for the future. And so for those ones who have thought clearly about their social and commercial viability for their programs, have really thrived out of the pandemic. Then the ones who have not been flexible, they have actually made losses, and they have some of them have collapsed.
Okay, interesting. There's also another thing that I wanted to find out. In every organization, the CFO and the CEO, they are possibly the ones who almost know everything about the health of the organization from whatever perspective you look at it, because ultimately most of all these things have to come to there's the money element in it, whether it's the people, the stakeholders, everything, and how do you, especially when during the tough times, knowing all these things and knowing that maybe 2-3 months from now we may have to downsize, or may have to close a certain department, or maybe there is a guy whom we have not paid for 6 months, and then you carry so much burden on behalf of the organization. What are your survival tips? How do you stay yourself grounded, motivated, and still be able to go home and smile with your twins and wake up? I'm sure that there are those moments when you wake up and you're dressing but now really, why should I have to go to work, and meet these people? And so what are your survival, tricks? How do you stay motivated and keep going?
And keep going.
Yeah.
Well, it all came to planning. Now, when we faced those challenges as an organization, we sat as a team and said, what do we need to do? We have projects that are ending, then we have lockdowns that happen and our students can't come on site. Funding is reducing. What do we need to do? And yet you have this huge wage bill on your financial statements. And you're looking at this stuff, and you're trying to, your emotional intelligence comes in. You're like, oh my God, we have to downsize, but what is the future for this team? So, but what we did, we set up as it's always good to have a very strong relationship with governance, with the board. So we came up with a strategy, and our strategy was stabilization, continuity, and bouncing forward. We didn't want to bounce back where we wanted to bounce forward. And that helped us so much to change our mindset. We're saying now we're in this, funding is no longer the way it used to be. what do we need to do? So one thing is having effective communication for all the team members and bringing everybody on board helped us a lot. It helped us a lot to balance off the equation and getting everybody to understand what is happening. And so when it came to aspects of downsizing, aspects of, transitioning and closing these projects and making sure that we mitigate that risk, it was not a very hard ball to do, because we were prepared to do it, and so we went through. We built different scenarios, did a lot of stress testing of what would be the best case, most likely, and the worst case scenarios. And we prayed. And we prayed, and things happened. Things happened. Of course, we are learning out of every experience. You know, you've ever been thrown into fire and you're like, how do I get out of it? So we were learning from every experience, but what was really very important is the spirit of resilience, that irrespective of the downs and ups that we are going through, we were resilient to move on. And right now, there are testimonies, I can tell you. There are testimonies when you look at organizations in terms of growth, in terms of new opportunities, in terms of collaborations and networking, and it is a testimony. And so it's not been as stressful, but also we learned that we need to balance off. We need to balance. You come off from that hectic day, you have to go and work out yourself. Okay. Yes, you have to work out yourself.
Actually, that answers one of the questions I was going to ask you in terms of how do you make sure you don't lose yourself in all this. But I think you're the one of people, I think I keep on hearing over the last couple of days, I hear there's an aspect of prayer in managing finance and leadership and in organizations. Is that something you found very helpful, or you just say, well, let's pray and you never know, anything could happen? How okay, as a person, as a leader, do you find prayer helpful?
Well, I never wanted to go there, but I always choose the organizations I go for, and MildMay is a Christian organization. And so what makes being very honest, a difference at MildMay is the fear of the Lord. So we are so devoted. Even when that period happened, there was so much devotions. Actually, we have sustained our devotion rate. Every single day we have devotions as a team. And it has been an encouragement for the team spiritually, mentally. Even when we went through the restructuring process, people were motivated. They knew that there's something good that is happening. And indeed, prayer has helped us, devotions have helped us, and as an organization, we are really thankful to the Lord of what has happened and the testimonies that we have across as a result of our foundation as a Christian organization.
Okay, after very many years in the industry and crisscrossing different sectors, I'm sure there's a lot of knowledge that you have right now. Many things that you know that you didn't know when you're starting out. So if you, and assuming this was possible, and you're walking in the corridors and you met your younger self, what would you tell you?
Well, thank you so much. I think, to be very honest, there are things I regret that probably I would have done much better. I think one of the things that really held me back was my introvert character. I missed out on opportunities that came when I was still a very young accountant. And opportunities would knock the door. I remember actually when I was attending these seminars of FCCA and CPA, I would get opportunities, for example, just cheering for a meeting. I did it once, twice, and I disappeared. I disappeared. And I'm like, why was I held back during that time? I missed opportunities of networking and, making myself visible. So I think it's very important as an accountant, one, to sharpen your communication skills all through, because right now when you look at what technology is doing, it is doing what you are doing. That bookkeeping and all that aspect of behind the desk, it is doing it. But you have to be a business enabler. You need to come out there and you need to start training for that at a very young age. Improve your communication. How do you package your communication for the different stakeholders? You know, when in our leadership, we always learn how do you package for the governance, how do you package for the investors, how do you package for the customers, for the different categories of that team. So that becomes very, very important. But also networking. Accountants, we are fond of, being, especially even in the health sectors, in our NGO sector. We've learned recently that you may not just go behind the doors and you think you're going to write a proposal and you win it. You win it. You have to actually have the skills of networking. You have to know people. You have to talk to people. You have to look for opportunity, attend meetings, attend seminars. Like for me now, this one is a plus on my side, and I'm creating this visibility across the space. So that you need to do it, and you need to learn it at a very young age, because what we used to do, computers are taking it up, technology is taking it up, but you need to be a business chief enabler, and you need to start practicing on that at a very young age. But also, like I highlighted earlier, don't end up into trouble. Don't become so much, so much greedy. Like in our NGO sector, if you're an accountant, there's so many tempting things that come up. Funding comes and you want, this funding is for a specific activity. Like for health, you need to know in your mind that it is a curse to actually touch on funding which is supposed to be for saving lives. And for you, you divert it on something else. You write wrong vouchers, you ask for bribes here and there. It becomes, it catches up with you. It catches up with you. So integrity and honesty is one of the things that you need to develop, you need to practice from your early stage. And you're going to see a lot of doors opening because of that integrity in the system. And I thought that is something that, it's very important, because I will tell you, in my journey, I am in the position that I am in because of trust and the confidence that the governance has with me, that, even if we give him as much resources as we can, he will not steal it. So that's very, very important. So integrity and being satisfied with what you have creates bigger doors for you for growth. Yeah.
Just think of, as a CFO, there are things I've read in the are they called the 7 questions of a finance leader or an accountant. Away from those things, you as a leader, as a CFO, what do you look out for when you're hiring or developing talent for your team? And maybe you could scope it in terms of what you would be telling about your younger self to position yourself for better things.
Well, one, of course, technical competence is very, very important. We need, we've seen people falling down because and negligently doing things which are not supposed to be done, and they create problems for the organization. So technical competence is very important. Of course, for me as a CFO, I know that can be learned. You can always improve on, but you should have preliminarily, you need to have some standards at entry level that need to be considered. But in terms of my recruitment for the staff, I really consider their value system. Value system, I do a lot of checks in terms of value system. What is, their track record in terms of their honesty, their credibility, and respect and transparency in whatever they do. That becomes very critically important. And I know these other things can be learned. And also someone who has a quality of continuous learning, because the world is changing. Every day we are learning something new. Even me as a director, I am learning something new. Just even being here in this interview process, there's something I'm learning. So learning never ends. So someone who has that drive to learn and cope up with the disruptions that are happening in the market, it is very, very important for the new young accountant. Yeah.
And there's something you mentioned earlier on, and I think you repeated it a couple of times, around being efficient, resource efficiency, and operational efficiency, and relating that to how ESG can help organizations to be efficient. I've seen so many people approach ESG from the angle of it's us helping the other people to be, to be ESG ready, to save them. But I also believe that most of this, I think the best way to approach ESG would be to start from inside, then to the outside. What are your own perspectives on how best to do ESG, especially in terms of the fact that this is also of course, I know we've been doing bits and pieces here and there, but ESG as a concept in general is relatively new here. But so what are your own views on how best it should be approached?
Well, thank you for that very, very important question. And I think it's a new trend and very, very important for the NGO sector where I am currently. The other day, we have just gotten our ESG policy approved by the board. And last week, actually, it was Wednesday, I was doing awareness for the staff, for all the staff of MildMay, on how do we practically use this new concept to change, to actually meet the vision of MildMay as an organization. And it was thrilling on how the teams were embracing it. We're trying to articulate on the issues so far, what we have done as an organization, from the environmental aspect of it. Of course, there's so much that we are doing in terms of solarization, investing in efficient technologies on how we can reduce the water aspects at our mine site, how we can, reduce the energy bills, and so much planting trees and all that. But what was thrilling for the staff was on the social aspects and the governance aspects of the ESG. When we talked about the social aspects, everybody was focusing on, that environment for the customers, for the staff to enjoy and have that quality life. And it actually enabled us to look into our human resource. How do we create a very motivated workforce? Trying to understand them much more, trying to understand the social aspect that we need to address as an organization, but also our customers. What are those areas on top of what we are doing, of course, in saving lives? What are those areas that will really bring, that will create impact in the society on the social aspects? And so that was very, very important. And we looked at it, plus the governance in terms of, how we are going to manage all this, the risk management, the control system. We looked at it as a way of a gateway of leading us into achieving the strategic objectives that we want. Because when we look at the entire ESG package, it brings, if it is implemented very well, it creates so much opportunities. It creates so much opportunities in terms of our funding element. First, because looking at the funding right now in the landscape of funding, everybody wants to see an organization that is that has adopted to the ESG policy. Then on top of that, it creates a lot of efficiencies in whatever we are doing. As NGOs, we are looking at cutting down costs. We are looking at sustainability. Now, when you look at the social aspects and the governance, you are mitigating the risk, but at the same time, you are creating a high motivated workforce. You're increasing productivity. You're eliminating every wastage that is happening in our system, and that creates sustainability. That is the true definition of sustainability. So when I was telling staff about all this, they were embracing it, and actually everybody went out there to define their key performance indicators on what they need to pick out and measure and create that efficiency. Like in our hospital, we said that wastage of recycling, you're having the wastage that comes out and you're dumping it away instead of recycling it and creating much more value. And we are thinking about that. And we think it's something that is going to create a lot of value for our organization, on top, of course, of the compliance issues of it. Yeah.
So as we wrap up, one is do you think you got where you are? Do you think you planned for this future where you are today? And if not, or either way, what, in terms of the plans that you have for yourself, or what you're thinking about of where you want to be, what would you say you're seeing yourself over the next 5 to 10 years? And then after that, we need to, given all the conversations that we've had, how do you advise a finance leader who is out there still struggling to find themselves and find their path and true calling and get back on the path to growth?
Yeah. Oh, that's a very interesting question. Mm-hmm. The other day I happened to attend the CFO networking forum organized by Deloitte and FCCA, and it was a date on my side. People came out and gave testimonies on how they've transitioned from CFO to CEO, and it left a huge debt burden on my side as a professional. And I took it up, and of course, initially I had strategies and plans on when I should be a CFO, coming out from manager to director and all that. I planned a 5-year strategy, and by God's grace, I achieved it. And right from this transition that I had on the network forum, I said in the next 3 to 4 years, I need to be a CEO. And the moment you define and confess your goals very clearly, and you develop plans on how to achieve them, I'm telling you, there is no limitation. And what is happening currently, because I've already built that strategic roadmap, whenever my CEO is not around, the person he delegates to, I've acted in her capacity so many times, and I'm learning a lot. So I think it's an intentional, it's intentional goal setting, because things you don't want to run zigzag. You just need to intentionally know where you want to be and be resilient, because you'll face challenges, ups and downs. And the moment you're doing that, there's nothing that is impossible. You'll actually reach your goals much faster when you clearly draw a roadmap where you want to be. Yeah. Interesting.
In terms of your parting shots, is there anything that you feel so passionate about that you want to reemphasize, or perhaps we didn't address it in this conversation, that you'd like to, to give it your stamp of approval and say, this is what I would package for my fellow leaders out there, my fellow peers in the finance profession, and generally in the leadership space?
Maybe my parting shots would be excellent. Let everybody be excellent in what you're doing, irrespective of what you're doing. there's a saying that, God blesses the works of your hand. So if whatever you're doing, you do it excellently, it is what will take you to another level. So I would encourage the young professionals, the accountants, and everybody out there, that irrespective of what kind of work that you're doing, just apply the best as you can and do it excellently and look forward. Have a future. Draw your clear roadmap, and you'll be there. You'll be there. So I think that is the greatest message I can mention, but also walk a journey of integrity, please.
There's something I picked up. You mentioned the word
Yes.
young people out there, and reminded me of something. I picked this a lot within the different forums of leaders. From time to time, it features a lot on social media, and there seems to be a general conversation or complaint in quotes around young professionals of today, the so-called Gen Zs, that they complain a lot. They are so entitled. They want to get very, very quickly, I guess, like they have seen in the series, or a guy joins an organization and 3-4 years down the road is a CFO. And I don't know, what has been your experience, and do you find a particular unique challenge in managing young people that's different from managing maybe the slightly above 30-year-old professionals?
What I've, in my experience, of course, the environment has changed. The way I used to manage, it's not the way I'm supposed to manage. And I think it's also very important to give the young generation opportunities to be what they want to be. And so the transition should be both between us who are above that age, 30, 40 years, and to really understand where this, because someone can actually ambitiously achieve the goal which you took 10 years to achieve. He can actually achieve it in 3 or 4 years. So it is about giving them the space to achieve their goals, but at the same time having breaks and building their value systems and mentorship to tell them that, you have to pass through a system in order to go somewhere. Otherwise, you can end up making mistakes. Yes, you learn from them, but some of them might be very costly. So it is what I've done as CFO is to really have that openness, transparency between my teams and allow them to give as much as they can. And I caution them through the experience that I've received over time to take a journey that is established for their success. Yeah.
All right, thank you very much, Daniel. I've enjoyed this conversation. I could keep going on and on and on, but I think I'm looking forward to interviewing you again very soon when you become CEO, like you have confessed. Please make sure when you become CEO, I'm the first guy to come, and we'll be sure to replay this interview and start it from there. And once again, thank you, Deloitte Uganda, FCCA Uganda, for bringing us this show. Please, if you're out there watching, keep watching. You share with your friends within your networks, and please do subscribe to our YouTube and other social media channels so that you can keep enjoying these great conversations about the journey to financial leadership. Thank you, and see you next time.
CFO Playbook by CEO East Africa Magazine in association with FCCA Uganda and Deloitte.